Totally get it. I totally get it. Okay, well, thank you, Ricardo, for coming on to the Heart and Soul interview and gracing us with your presence and allowing us to take up some of your time today. Um, would you, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background? When we do the video, I have your whole bio and everything. It'll be underneath the video. But just in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been in the industry over 20 years, right?
Oh yeah, more than that.
More than that. Okay.
Yeah, 30, 32.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you've seen all kind of technology and everything go through over the transom. I was this little side. I was cleaning up. I work at home. I was cleaning out my home office, and I threw away 4 computers yesterday. Because I never throw away anything. I had
Right.
all these Macs. I'm a Mac guy. I threw away so much stuff. I was like, Dad, look at all this money I spent on this technology that now I could do some of this stuff on my phone.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, I come from East Oakland.
Okay.
Born in East Oakland. I say born in East Oakland, raised in Ramstein, Germany.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got to that was, definitely the greatest experience of my
Mm-hmm.
life, being able to travel young, because
Mm-hmm.
it restructured my, kind of experience in the world,
Gave you a worldview, huh? Right away.
Yeah, I just never was in a box, right?
Right.
Like I was always open to and looking for opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I never really just took what was presented as that was it.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right.
and so yeah, so through my life, I've been able to um, be very fortunate. I was always creative, wanted to
Mm,
be an actor
okay,
as a
okay.
young kid. And then
Hmm.
that kind of led me to, like, okay, well, since I'm gonna be an actor, let me learn about the behind the scenes. And then
Okay.
that got me dabbling with the editing and the, videotape at the time, right? We're talking about
Hmm.
technology.
Right, right,
I was on
right.
VHS tapes and tape to tape at first, and
Hmm.
kind of elevated with the technology from there. And because of that, yeah, a lot of it was self-taught, because I'm always having to learn new technology.
Hmm. Hmm.
But when I say self-taught, I always had good mentors. I always was very lucky to be around people
Hmm.
that were doing things older than me that would bring me in
Right,
and teach me.
right. They're
So,
reaching down and
um,
pulling you up, right?
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of been, my whole life since I had that experience at a young age. I always wanted to do that for other people too. Starting with
Hmm.
my little brother, my little sisters, and just anybody that was younger than me in my orbit, I would always help.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. So, okay, so you had mentors, you had a penchant for creativity, and you had a worldview that said I could do anything, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Okay.
it was never even I could do anything. It was more like there's a way to get it done.
Okay. Okay.
Anything I imagine, I believe
Hmm.
there's a way to get it done, and sometimes that may take more time, more resources, more people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, James Cameron's a good example. A lot of his creations, a lot of his
Right.
visions, he
Hmm.
had to make technology to make it happen. Same thing with George
Yes.
Lucas, and I think that
Hmm.
sometimes we are limited by what's available to us immediately.
Yeah, well, your
Um,
tools. Right, right,
and
right.
really, we're unlimited. We just may need more time to create.
Or you may need technology to catch up with what's in your head
Exactly.
creatively, right?
We could imagine. Everything we had. We could imagine before we had it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Wow, wow, wow. So you started out music videos. It was the music, it was just the behind the scenes. What was your main motivation for I want to do that? And what was that?
Yeah. I just fell into it.
Right.
I think I say yes to a lot of things before I know what they are.
Oh, you knew what it was, right? Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I can do
so
that.
at,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So at 14, I worked on an independent film,
Hmm.
and then got really impressed. The production staff that was like just
Hmm.
recently film student graduates, and they hooked me up with the Oakland Film Commissioner. That
Okay.
was the best
Wow.
thing that ever
Okay.
happened to me in my life. That one singular,
Hmm.
I feel like it was a whole summer, but it might only been a few weeks in the summer. I was
Hmm.
her intern, but I met all these production managers.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
and because I
Okay.
wasn't 16, I couldn't get a work permit. So I couldn't
Yeah.
work on the feature films, but I
Uh-huh.
could work on the music videos.
Okay.
I
Okay.
worked on a bunch of music videos for free for
Yeah, I
E4.
heard you did over a
For
thousand music
streaming.
videos. Is that true? Is that
I don't really know. I'm 1,000 seems like possible, but maybe a lot.
hmm
For context, I started working on videos pretty much most weekends from when I was
hmm
15.
Okay.
until I was
Okay.
about 21.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, you
So
could have.
about
Yeah.
6 years. And
Mm-hmm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
like, from like 90,
Right.
95 until like 2001, you
Wow.
know?
Okay.
So,
Wow.
and then all the no limit videos I worked on, either
Okay.
as a treatment writer, I
Mm-hmm.
directed some commercials, I
Mm-hmm.
worked as a PA, all the from
Wow.
Eminem to Dr. Dre to Destiny's Child to,
Okay. So you work with
pretty much
everybody.
anybody
You
get
did
my
every
name wrote
job.
down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You,
I was a production assistant, but I would bring my video camera,
right.
and
Right.
that's how I got a lot of work. Like I would go and I would go film behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then give that footage to the label, and then
Oh,
I
wow.
became the
Okay.
VA. They was getting 2 for 1 with me,
I was gonna say they were getting a lot of extra work out of you for one paycheck, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I would just try to make myself valuable,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
show
Oh, you
credit.
and you clearly you did. Clearly you did. Now you went from videos. What was the first like TV shows or what was the when you made the transition? I heard that every 5 or 6 years you would try to transition into something new. What was that like?
I think that happens organically. I think that because I was involved in a lot of these kind of, think about this. Like
Hmm.
I got into music videos kind of right when, um, that genre was really getting an influx of money. It was at the peak of music videos,
Yes.
was the
Okay.
era that I worked in, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I got to work into the peak of television, into my
Okay.
second career, right?
Hmm.
And I got to start into reality TV at a young age. Just at 22, I started editing reality TV. But
Okay.
a lot of the opportunities I fell into, it was just me looking for opportunity constantly. I never got
Hmm.
settled and said, "Oh, I'm gonna work at this one place forever."
Oh, okay. You never got complacent. You were like, okay,
No,
what's my next
I was
move?
always looking for what's new, what I can create, what I can build, or how I can learn,
Hmm.
uh, because I always was just very ambitious. So,
Okay.
but that kind of mode also allowed me to be prepared for when the wheels fell off. So, for example,
Hmm.
I'll never forget. Um, I got to shout out my boy Brian LaVar. We
Uh,
call him Black. He's a director. He's a music video director,
okay.
but he hired me to edit some videos because
Hmm.
that was just like what I would do on the side when I didn't have any money.
Right.
And
Right. You pay the
and he
bills.
was like, yeah, just to pay the bills.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. I was like, I'm tripping. And he was like, man, you know how to edit. You should never be broke, right? You should never, And he said, I forget exactly what he said to me, exactly the words, but the bottom line was, you have this skill of editing, you could
Hmm.
always fall back on that. Like him as a director, he
Hmm.
relied on a lot of different things to come together. But
Right.
I could work with just my machine and someone that needed that service, whether it was an acting reel or
Hmm.
whether it was
Hmm.
a commercial. I was editing videos for the nursing union, SEIU. You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean?
So yeah, yeah. So no matter what came across your table, it needed editing.
Yeah, and
Right.
that allowed me to be able to have a lot more choices
Hmm.
for work
Hmm.
because I could
Hmm.
always work independently. So I never had to be beholden to an employer or a
Right.
certain show for at my everything.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned you always worked independently. So is that why you started your company, your media company?
But we were talking about,
Yeah, we were talking about what led you to start your media company because you always were
yeah.
independent and working for all these different people, but that was that.
Well, you know what? I think because I was always around these other folks that were older than me that were starting businesses,
Hmm. Hmm.
keep in mind, I met a guy named Jeff Clanagan when I was 15.
Okay.
And Jeff Clanagan went on to run No Limit Films, and now he
Mm.
runs Heartbeat for Kevin Hart.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
always, he had his own company called Code Black
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
Lionsgate. So I've been able to see folks like that
Okay.
build businesses, grow them,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think some people want to be the actor or the director. I think at some point I
Hmm.
wanted to kind of be able to control my own destiny and build my own
Right.
business, not only
Right.
because you can you know not only because you can kind of choose your own projects
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
tell the stories you want to tell, but because
Hmm.
you can also employ the people you want to employ and build the teams you want to build.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and have a little more control over your destiny. But I've just seen it done before. One of my
Right.
biggest influences was working for Master P.
Yeah. Yeah.
I worked for Master P. That was like my primary company I worked at,
Okay.
as an 18 to 21 year old,
Wow.
you know. So that was
Yeah.
very formative seeing him. Just I was just a production assistant, but then I got to kind of direct all the album commercials. Remember
Yeah.
on BET, it'd be like
Yep.
Master Magic coming soon.
Yeah. Coming
That was
soon, right? Like
I
the
was
sizzle
working.
reel, right? We
So
called
I
it the
was the
sizzle
guy they
reel.
would have direct those. I would direct those,
Right.
and all these little albums, all these movies, all these productions are little businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
then and when Master P, he actually closed. The best thing that ever happened to me was they closed No Limit Films
Mm-hmm.
uh, January 1, and it was Master P at that time had like 40 something businesses, and I think he went through an
Wow.
audit of his businesses
Mm-hmm.
and decided to close the ones that weren't profitable. I
Yeah.
don't
Well, less
know.
profitable. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
were less
Right.
possible. So we went from working at No Limit Films every day to the doors being closed on January 1,
Wow.
and I had to figure it out from there. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was formative in a lot of ways because one, I was observing how he's moving as a businessman, but I also was experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
now I don't have any income and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any control over it. You know,
Right. Right. You didn't have any control. Right.
and and not only that, I didn't have any knowledge that it was coming. You know,
Well,
um,
mm.
you know what I mean.
That's
So
kind of
so
like
for
when
me,
when BT was sold to Viacom. We were all like, "What?"
yeah, yeah. And so it just made me realize, like, okay, no matter what, no matter who I'm working for, no matter what I'm doing, I
Hmm.
want to have some control over my destiny, some control over my income that
Uh-huh.
I can actually put my hands around.
Okay. Wow. 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 So, all right. So, talk a little bit about your foundation. So, with your experience, you see what people go through to try to, bring themselves up. And tell us a little bit about your foundation and what, what the goals are and what you hope to, achieve and what you have achieved.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Like, if I'm honest, um, I didn't know what it was going to be when we
Mm,
started it. I just
mm,
knew
mm.
that here's the thing. It's just like with your health
Right.
and wellness.
Mm,
You could treat the symptoms or you get
mm.
to the root of the problem,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that a lot of the diversity conversations in our business
Mm.
are really treating a symptom, and
Okay.
not getting to the root of the problem.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't even know this, but like all the, technical unions, the IATSE unions, these were formed in the, late 1800s, post the
Mm,
Civil War,
mm.
and and that's why they, in our country culturally, they're
Right.
called unions because it was out of the promise from the Union Army. And
Mm.
so my point is though is that those promises weren't made to people of color,
Right. Not to
right?
us. Right. Right.
So the system itself wasn't
Mm.
built to train, specifically a diverse group of people,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so you end up with this result
Mm.
it's interesting. We're not that many generations ago from the late 1800s, right? My
Right.
great grandfather was born in 1900, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my point is that what I noticed, I think a lot of people weren't really paying attention to as much,
Mm-hmm.
was that the technology, the skills, the workflow, the how
Right.
you do this, the language of the business,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a grip, whether you're an Best Boy Electric, whether you're an editor, especially in post production where I come from,
Right.
those nuances weren't being passed along from generation to generation because
Right.
those are things that aren't really taught in colleges.
No, not at all. Right.
Film schools are designed to create creatives, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
and the technical support,
Right.
that staff, that those workflows change with the technology. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be
Mm-hmm.
going to the conventions.
Yeah.
You have to be learning the upgraded software,
Yeah. Software. Right.
of Avid, of Premiere, of,
Mm-hmm.
DaVinci or, DaVinci Resolve, whatever it is.
Right.
And a lot of that is traded inside of these rooms that if you're not in, you won't know how
Yeah.
that thing
You won't.
works.
Yeah. You won't get any information. Right. You
Right.
are on the outside. Right. Right.
So it's not even like there's this room where people are hoarding this information. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the information exists in this room that there are people that aren't able to get into those rooms and learn. And
Mm-hmm.
so where a lot of folks saw a diversity problem, I just saw a training and education problem.
Right.
Like
Okay.
it's
Great.
just
Great.
because
Great.
so
Right.
while everyone was asking me like, hey, you should find all these diverse editors, I was like, well, there's a ton of us, yes, but there's also not a ton of folks coming in. Just
Mm-hmm.
like for for everyone that ends up becoming a professional NBA player, for every
Right.
LeBron, there's 10,000 folks that were really great at basketball that got the
Right.
same training, and he just became that diamond in the rough, right?
Right.
And I wanted to create that same kind of system, that same kind of development system that you see in the NBA, that you
Mhm.
see in doctor's offices with
Right.
residency programs. I wanted to
Right.
create that same system for editors, for
Right.
sound mixers, for all these technical skills, because I
Mhm.
felt like if we train thousands of people, then these really prolific, talented folks would start to rise up from this group,
Mhm.
and also it not only diversity comes with equity, right? If everyone
Right.
has equal access, then then you'll have. That's why you have so much diversity in like nursing, for example. Everyone knows how
Mhm.
to access how to be a nurse.
Right.
Um, so
But
one
there
of the
is a
reasons
National Black Nurses Association for a reason. Yes.
Right. No, I understand that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
that the information is more accessible than in
Yes.
our industry. And
Right.
so, and so what I'm saying is that the more we can make the information accessible, the more
Mhm.
people we have. So to date, we started training people about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And to date, we have nearly 400 alumni.
Wow.
Um,
Great. Wow.
and they work on, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like most
Mhm.
TV shows I watch, a lot of the films
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
see, we have some folks associated with it now, where
Wow.
things from Law and Order to America's Got Talent to the Michael Jackson movie coming out, which we're
Yeah.
screening tomorrow.
Mhm.
These are some of our apprentices are working on all these projects.
Wow, wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. Okay, so that leads me to another question. Okay. So even in my industry, AI is wreaking havoc with all kind of stuff. And, for older folks like me, I'm a little techie, so it's okay. But some of my friends don't even know what the heck to do with it. So what's going to happen? You got these great people you're training, you got a pipeline open for them, and okay, here comes AI, and somebody has a brilliant idea. We don't need all these people in the background. What's your reaction, and how are you helping your folks in your foundation cope with this technology?
It it's really important
Hmm.
to understand that in our business,
Hmm.
you don't stop learning
Right.
because there have been automated
Mhm.
tools integrated in our edit systems
Yeah,
for years.
for years. Right, right,
Every
right.
year, every quarter, or every year, when our trainers that
Mhm.
train our students, we
Mhm.
add these things, and we also hold workshops to upskill folks.
Okay.
We actually sent a cohort of students to NAB in
Uh,
Las Vegas to
oh,
go
good. Okay, good.
view and touch the technology.
Hmm.
They bring that back and they share it with our alumni. We have uh, an alumni board that
Right,
runs,
group. Hmm.
further education for alumni. So, you know, this is not a one-time you got your education and then
Yeah.
you're doing your career forever. This is
Right,
every 6 months to every year
right,
you
right,
are
right.
getting upgraded, upskilled, and continuing to learn,
Okay.
and 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 that's just the process. Because if you stop learning, you stop growing, and your opportunity like diminishes.
Yeah, yeah, opportunities shrink. Wow. Oh, okay. That's a great way to look at it. That's great. Now, okay, so what's your advice that you would give to anybody that wants to get in this entertainment industry? Just from you know, put your mentor hat on. What's your advice to anybody say, yeah, yeah, I see music videos, I see movies. How do I get into that? What would you tell them their first steps are?
Well, I mean, step one is to just start trying to see what you like,
Okay.
because I think that there are people that, and I'll be honest, especially in Hollywood, a lot of people get into Hollywood because they see the red carpet, they see
Uh-huh.
the movie
Yeah.
screen, they
Yeah.
want to see themselves under the lights.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but you have to actually enjoy the process,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't become a professional basketball player because you hate shooting the ball,
Right. Right.
right?
Okay.
You gotta
Right.
like doing that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta like spending time in a room writing and thinking and creating and testing,
Mm-hmm.
um, incubating. And so there's a lot of things to do in this business. You can be
Right.
very technical. You can be very into audio. You can be very into color schemes, and be a creative decorator, or
Yeah.
creative
Designer. Yeah.
set,
Yeah.
set designer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you could really love math and be an accountant and do
Mm-hmm.
so. Anyway, as I
So
was saying,
you were saying there's a lot
you
of
have to
things to
love
do.
those things, and so most people don't get the opportunity to try enough things before they even find out what they love. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
they might try one thing and they're like, "Oh, the industry didn't work for me," or they
Right.
might try one thing and they're like, "This is what I want to do forever."
Hmm.
I mean, I
Hmm.
know for me, I wanted to be a director. I had my blinders on. That's all I wanted to be
Right.
until No Limit closed, and I was like, I have to figure out something else.
Yeah. What else can I do in this industry? Right.
You know?
Right. 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 Wow. Wow. Well, that's great. That's great advice. And that's it's been fantastic talking to you. I'm cognizant of your time. So that was my last question, really. Is there anything you want to say to people, that you want to, impart before we go?
Yeah, I think that, look, if you are someone that's creative and
Hmm.
you want to learn about or experience, you know, what that's like for you
Hmm.
to create something, I
Hmm.
would say just do it at whatever scale you can do it
Hmm. Hmm.
first. Because a lot of times we have all these ideas and all these things inside of us, and what's changed is Will Packer said this in an interview I did with him a while ago for one of my podcasts.
Hmm.
You know, it used to be that creating something was the hardest thing to do. You had to get a big
Yeah.
movie set, you had to get cameras, things like that.
Right.
But now creating something is the most easiest thing to do.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
really connecting with an audience of people that care about what you're creating. That is the hardest part. And so at the end of the day, um, I think everyone should figure out where everybody should have some creative bone in their body, that some
Yeah.
creative interest,
Hmm.
whether you're
Hmm.
crocheting or whatever you're doing.
Right.
It should just be a part of your daily, or weekly routines.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I find that what that is for you. And if you find you really, really love it and you really want to take it further and make a career out of it,
Hmm.
then definitely tap in with me. Either at the Handy Foundation on
Right.
our website or on our Instagram, or you
Hmm.
can follow me at Ricarlo, Rikarlo,
Yeah.
everywhere. And we share all about how to pursue your creative endeavors every day.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So find something you love and go do it.
Yeah, just get started. And then if you want to
Right.
make it a career, the technical skill is what makes it a career,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Not a
Exactly.
hobby. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been fantastic talking to you. I want to thank you for your time. We're going to put this up on our website. I'll edit this down and we'll, put it together. We'll show it to you and then you can make any comments, changes, whatever you want. And then we'll put it out there and let people know that you're out there and you're helping the community and you're helping folks in the industry and you've created a foundation that really is going to lead the way for a lot of folks. So thank you very much. Thank you for what you do.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.